We're finally interviewing Matty Roy, and if you don't know who that is, I'll link in the description. We reviewed his dating profile, and this just wasn't any dating profile. This was the longest fucking dating profile I've ever seen. I've never seen a dating profile this long, and I actually didn't learn a lot about him as a person in this profile somehow. It was something like 5,000 words, or it just felt like a really long profile, and it talked about all the things that he wanted, but actually didn't say much of anything about himself as a human being. So I learned a lot of things. I learned that he probably graphs all of his acts of sexual intercourse on a spreadsheet and has different metrics by which he rates every act. I learned that he wants to take other people's gametes and fuse them together to make a hybrid super baby to raise. Other than that, I didn't really know a lot about him. So I wanted to interview him. And it was actually excellent. It was fantastic. Matty is quite the catch. His dating profile is the least catchy thing about him, I have to say. Like, actually speaking to him, a lot of women would be very lucky to have Matty as a partner, I have to say, because he's kind and he has great values and he actually has some earning potential. He has a business. He's been the CEO of a cryonics business in the past, a cryonics trust with, I assume he was in charge of many people and quite a lot of money. And, you know, he's good looking, all these things. He speaks like a billion languages. So I would give it a watch. And if you haven't actually watched his dating profile before, you can watch it now, you can watch it later, whenever. I'm not the master of your conscience. Okay, I can't tell you what to do. But I have a supercut down below. It's like 13 minutes long. The original one was like an hour and I don't know, whatever, 10 minutes long, and it was way too long. And this 13-minute one is like the best of the best. You don't need to, you could see the whole thing if you want. If you want to watch an hour of my content, please feel free to do so. You have my permission to watch my content. But if the one down below is way better. And I've realized now that it's much better to like make a shortened version of things. So I'm still learning the YouTube algorithm, still figuring out how to hack it and to get rich and famous and never have to work again a day in my life. So that'd be cool. If you want to like and share, that'd be great. If you don't want to, I'll accept that. I'll let you watch my video, but you know, I'm watching you. See you later. Have fun.
Hey, I'm Elliot.
I'm Serene.
And we're here with Matty Roy.
Hi.
Or is it, how do you say your name? How would you like it to be said?
Oh, well, I say Mati, but I like it when people pronounce it in English as well. So either way is fine. Yeah.
And right. Where's your accent come from?
I'm from Quebec, so French speaking. Yeah.
You've got the beautiful French accent.
That's a plus. That's a +1 for charm, I think.
I would rather not have it, but there it is.
You'd rather not have it, really?
Why?
Yeah.
What is it about your accent that bothers you?
I feel like people update that I'm slightly less competent based on this. Yeah.
As at the language, like at English, but that means you speak two languages.
No,
right?
just in general.
Do you speak how many languages then?
Well, native French speaker. I've been in Spain. I've done courses in Spanish and Catalan.
Wow. And
I've learned a bit of American Sign Language and a little bit of Portuguese, but mostly English and French.
So from the get-go, we know that you speak like 4 or 5 languages.
Let's go with yeah. Also, I've learned some Toquipona actually, which is but it's a very small constructed language. But basically I would say 2.5. Yeah.
Wow.
That I speak.
Oh, by the way, before we get really started, Matty is from our previous video. He is offering a $3.5 thousand bounty for anyone who can find him the love of his life, a woman that he will have children with. And so we
to compare, like matchmaker fees, if you were to go through a traditional matchmaking style, are quite similar. Like you would sort of pay your matchmaker several $1,000s. So it's in line with that.
You pay Tinder with your data. And
yeah. There's Tinder Gold too. That's a yeah.
Terms and conditions apply.
Terms and conditions, right? It's got to be a real relationship. It's got to like, and of course, if you feel like you're eligible, you can also be the winner of the $3,500 if you bring yourself.
No, actually.
Oh, really?
If you cannot refer yourself. I'm too afraid of accidental prostitution.
Yep.
Right.
Fair enough.
Oh, that's fair. That's got some respectability behind it.
Do you think a girl would? You'd have to be a pretty
No,
crazy woman.
I don't think so. But I'm just very paranoid.
Okay. Cool.
I want to. Yeah.
Yeah. There are some crazy people out there. I get it. You want someone with a reference too, who has a friend who they think, who thinks highly of them. That's probably good.
Well, I've always wanted to date people who have friends at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah,
like people who have a social support network of their own, people who are, they're able to be referred by their friends. Makes for a good, like, this person is a good person who has friends, rather than someone who scares all their friends away or something.
Yeah. I've never thought about this explicitly, but that makes sense.
So what made you want to put a bounty on your love?
I think, like, in general, superconnectors are undervalued. I've seen a lot of superconnectors around me provide a lot of value, and I myself would consider myself as a superconnector, and I see that it can be a lot of work. And I think it could incentivize people to go an extra mile to share or think about who might be a good fit in their network. And there's a social matchmaker in my community as well that would be rewarded for their work if, Oli is doing this on a volunteer basis, but having a bounty is a nice way to incentivize her also.
So from there, I hear that you have a strong sense of like giving back to your community.
Well, I wouldn't say it's the main driving factor behind my bounty. Yeah, I would say it's a thing that I think would be valuable for myself, and it's also I also like the concept of bounty in general, and I'm mostly just doing it for myself. Yeah. I think it would be a nice norm, like making it like side benefit that I get is that I'm making it more socially acceptable for other people to do that. And I think it's more costly maybe for first people to do that whenever it's a new thing, because it might be perceived as weird. By normalizing it, then it might bring value to other people that will also do it afterwards.
Right. So you seem like you're okay being weird. Is that? Like you're okay to be the first person to put the bounty out there because you'd like to make it more normal. Are you okay being weird, or like to double check? Like, are you okay being weird, or like what's your relationship with the idea of being seen as being weird?
Yeah, I'm very okay with being weird. I don't try to be weird, but every time like I find a new reason to be weird, I'm like, oh well, universe. So like, still, I'm like, yeah, there's a clear argument for me to be weird here. Oh well.
It's kind of important. You can like stand out and make your own choice. You don't have to follow the crowd.
Yeah.
Right.
And the best entrepreneurs are people who have ideas that everyone else thinks won't work. So you have to be weird to be successful in many ways.
And I'm like, often argue for traditions. I'm like, yeah, traditions are there for a reason. You should understand them before not following them. And I'm like, well, that happens often for me, that I disregard the tradition. But I think still think it's a good default. Yeah.
I imagine that means you're doing a lot of learning. Like you're learning why the tradition was there, or what it's like without it there. You're sort of charting your own course in the world.
Right. I try to think what's the plausible mechanism for why it was there, and why would that not be a good strategy to still do it right now in the current environment?
Yeah. Well, it's like, so you have like a sense of mindfulness around the things that you're doing. You're like reflective. You're getting some clear intentions behind your actions.
Right. Yeah.
Speaking of being weird, so we did a video on you a few weeks ago, and we kind of, I would like to say, lovingly criticized your profile. I mean, I made fun of you, but I felt like I wanted to do it in a friendly way, and I wanted to help you out. And you know, when I was editing this video, it took a couple hours, and I was thinking the whole time, like, why am I bothering? He's not going to say yes to this. Like, and then I sent it to you, and I got back this message like, I love it. I'm so happy. And I was just like, I was ecstatic that you were so willing to put yourself out there in the world and risk being weird. And that, I think that says a lot about your character too.
Yeah, I'm sorry it took me so long to get back to you, because I imagined that it was like, you were like, oh, did I put all this work for nothing? And then you just waited like a week before knowing. Yeah,
it's great. I don't mind.
So putting yourself out there, usually people might think of that as like a vulnerable thing, like very scary or ready to be attacked. But how do you feel about being vulnerable? Obviously you just did it. So are you okay with being vulnerable, or?
Well, I like this experience. I think I would like to experience more low self-confidence to know what it feels like. Yeah, I think well, yeah, I kind of playfully I play around at being like overconfident, but part of it is like I amplify this character, like, but yeah, I don't know, like I also like being in public a lot, and that was fun for me to experience, to be criticized in that way. Yeah.
Cool. It's a lot of honesty and introspection that I'm seeing. You seem to know yourself quite well.
Sometimes, yeah, I think so. I think I know myself pretty well, but there's still a bunch of things that I don't know. And sometimes people ask me a question and I need to think about it for like 20 minutes before answering.
Yeah.
But my guess is like, I don't know, do other people know themselves like really well, or they just bullshit an answer? Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like I need to do a lot of work to know myself. So, yeah.
So when I was reviewing your profile, and one thing that really struck me here is perhaps the most interesting, is that you didn't really sell yourself. You kind of had this profile that was all about the type of woman that you want and what kind of life you want to build. And traditionally, and I think, you know, like you said, traditions are there for a reason. Men will go out of their way to show what they can give to a woman, or like the type of life they can provide. I've heard a common saying of a man says to a woman, this is where I'm going in life, and if you want to hop on this train, come along with me, but if you don't, like, get out of my way. And so it was very curious that I saw almost nothing about your passions or your job, or like what kind of future you had to offer, what kind of potential you have. So I'd like to know now, what makes you such a catch?
Yeah, just to answer like why I didn't include this initially, I'm not sure exactly, but my guess is maybe I was too like focused on, you know, writing this for myself. Like, what do I was like kind of writing. I also often write out my thoughts to know what I want for myself, and I'm like, so that was kind of the exercise I was doing, and doing it for people in my circles. Maybe they already knew me, but yeah, I like that was good feedback, and I changed that part of the profile. I think I would be a good partner because I place a lot of value towards making plans that will take into account the well-being of all parties, and keeping my words on agreements and telling the truth. So I think like conflict resolution is like a big pillar of a relationship. And there's some conflict resolution strategies that I'm not compatible with, but I think I have done a lot of work into developing my conflict resolution strategy, and that's something valuable.
That is valuable. For me, when I was looking for a partner before Elliot, I was hell-bent on like finding someone who would only tell the truth, because a relationship is so much easier if everyone tells the truth all the time. It's incredible. Like so much less goes wrong. You know, that even includes saying, I'm fine if you're not fine. Like that's a lie, you know, and that just creates all this bullshit. And so you do seem very honest, which is a huge pro on your end.
Huge relief.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't realize this profile was, it's almost you describe it as an introspective exercise for yourself to get clear on what you wanted.
Yeah, that's been really useful for that as well. Like I've also written like a list of questions that I would ask someone. Like initially I made a long survey and it was too long. I shortened it a lot with just a few key questions, but still having the list of questions, it makes it clearer for myself, like what I'm looking for. And then I can bring those things up naturally in the conversation.
Do you have some of those questions in your mind? Can you share what those questions are? And
yeah, there's like, so one set of questions is about family structure. So asking if the person is willing to be raising children with more than one other adult, how many children they want, if they're willing to use gamete donors, because one of my important project would be to find kind of the most valuable on some metrics people in the world, and ask them for their sperm and eggs and raise their children. And then also if they're okay with using surrogate mothers, because I would probably like to have multiple children at the same time. So yeah, I feel like those are weird things. I've never really asked people in general if they're okay with this. So seems like an important thing to ask up front. Yeah. Then there's also questions about longevity. I think I'm going to be more flexible on that one, but for me to really relate to someone, like one of my core values is wanting to live forever, and it's harder for me to relate to someone that doesn't share that. But I think I'm going to be more flexible on that one, because really this project is raising children, and I want it to be focused around the ability to raise children and being a good team to raise children. Yeah.
I want to ask about that. Like, what's your model of raising children? What's the best? What are some of the best maybe resources that go into raising children in the best way?
I can try to answer this question, but I definitely have I'm pretty sure I have a lot to learn. Like, and a lot of my learning is still ahead of me.
Are there any like authors that you've read that whose philosophies you like around raising children?
No.
No? Okay. Or like the education system? I know there's a lot of books around different ways of doing schooling. Have you read anything on that yet? Is that still to come?
Yeah, I've not read books around this topic.
Okay, so I get you too, because you haven't like gotten to the stage where you're having kids yet, and that might be your wife or partner, whatever it is, like your partner's decision as well. And you seem to me like the sort of person who researches something really thoroughly when they get into it. So I assume that you're just planning to do a bunch of research. Now,
yeah, I want to do a book club like around the topic. Yeah.
Nice.
Cool. Now, there's something that I want to point out about. I had a question earlier that was, what can you provide for a woman? And I wonder if I'll just provide a woman's perspective. You know, I'm only one. I think I obviously don't speak for all women, but I think I speak for a lot when I say that one thing that we're looking for is, because as a woman, we have a lot of, like, if you're single and available and, you know, relatively appealing, you have a lot of men who are interested in you, right? And so the woman's job is generally to like gatekeep, right? To gatekeep sex or gatekeep perhaps men
Filter
gatekeep
down.
relationships, but you filter down a lot. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. And so one thing that we are looking for is talent. So we want good genetics. So what are good genetics? Like talent, intelligence, being funny, being fit, like just being good at something in general, right? And then along with that, resources. So like money, because genetically, if I'm going to have a kid, like if you think of like how our brains were probably formed in hunter-gatherer times, I would have been pregnant for 6 months. I couldn't necessarily provide for myself all that well if I had 15 kilograms on my stomach. And then raising a baby is very time intensive and labor intensive. And so like I'm looking for a man who can provide for me, and I want to see that he has a lot of potential. And so I asked you what you could provide to a relationship, and that was an excellent answer. And it really does speak a lot about your character. I think it's very important. But like, what do you have that like makes what are some of your talents or your obsessions, or like what resources can you provide, I guess?
But by the way, I like that you say this, because I feel like it's taboo. Like people don't like if what you're saying is true, and I think it's true, but we could imagine, and people were honest about it, then that should be on dating profiles. I never see this on a Cupid. There's no section of like, but they're like indirect cues. Yeah. I think I have good project management skills, which can be good both like to earn an income, but also to for housework, especially with my plans of being with multiple adults and a large family. I think project management will be very useful to be able to elaborate systems where we're able to split the work. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. I saw on your Facebook profile that you have like a list of all these jobs. You were a CEO of a company at some point?
I was on the board of, I'm the CEO of like 2 companies. I'm on the board of director of a cryonics research organization, and we parted ways with the previous team, and I stepped in as an interim CEO for like 6 months while we were figuring out who will be the next team taking on over the facility, and in the meantime doing a bunch of repairs and maintenance at the facility.
All right, Maddie,
and yeah.
That's number one. You want to mention that first before anything else.
It's like you not only were you the board, but you were the CEO and you managed the organization for 6 months. That's like most people haven't been a CEO, you know.
Before you mention project management skills, because that's real. But like you were a CEO, that you don't need to say I have project management skills. I can't assess that. But if other people put you in charge of managing a company for 6 months, then it's social credit, right?
And admittedly, we still don't know what you did there, and you could have like twiddled your thumbs and sat around for 6 months. But chances are you did stuff and you were busy and you were managing people, and you know your work will speak for itself.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What else have you done in the career wise?
Right now, I have I've had a personal assistant company for a couple of years. It's never been like my main focus in the past. I'm putting a bit more time on it right now. So I basically provide general assistants that are remote, mostly to people in the affective altruism community. And I also do lead generations. So being able to find a large amount of data like on people with a certain interest that the client has, or things like this. So yeah.
Okay.
So how long have you been running the virtual assistant company?
Something like 3 years, 3.5 years, I think. Yeah.
Wow.
It's very impressive.
It's like, yeah, wow. Okay. I haven't been running a company for 3.5 years. Like, clearly a chunk of your time goes towards it. Like, what? I feel like I have to like dig to find like what are you actually doing, but what else are you spending a chunk of your time on? Maybe there's like huge projects that in there that you haven't named yet.
Whenever my family asks me this at Christmas party, I'm like, oh man, it's gonna be so hard because I'm doing like
Right, but that's why I want to like you know, if I just said what do you do for work, you probably wouldn't have even mentioned the personal assistant company. But like, what is your time taken up with? Maybe is it an easy way to help you like think about it?
I have like all my sheets here just above me, like one per project. So yeah, okay, well, there I have like a bunch of small projects.
Just one question: how many
Yeah.
sheets are there?
12, but that's not a good thing. Like that's yeah.
So 12
Okay,
major
like
projects or 12 major divisions of.
well, one is redesigning my website. That's a small project. Like that's not like personal tax. That's a small project. It's not really like a project. Like moving out of Quebec, then improving my life logging setup, dating. So those are my non-work project. Um, and then in terms of work project, I have Fantask, the Chronic company that I mentioned. I'm a co-trustee on a Chronic organization in Texas that owns a lot of land and infrastructure with the goal of becoming the largest storage facility for Chronic patients.
Wait, sorry, what did you say? What's your position in that company? Oh, trustee. Okay.
Yeah.
Trustee. Okay. Got
So
it.
I mean that's very part-time. Like yeah.
Yeah.
I've been putting some hours on designing a vision for the website Reciprocity, which I don't own, but I want to pitch it to the owner of it because I think there's a lot of potential for this website, and so that's something I've been preparing, and I feel like I shouldn't say too much because people I'm doing project with will be like, are you gonna work on my projects if you work on all those other projects? But okay, it's too late. I need to say the other two. I want to like, well, I've been working on so in the Rationalists community, something that's pretty popular is treating SAD, like seasonal affective disorder, with like way more light that has been previously recommended by mid-school staff. And I want to create a product that will address this need of being like extra luminous, like way more luminous than ACD light that we have right now on the market. And I'm also interested. This one I've put less time so far on it, but I want to try to win the Bunty by the Machine Intelligence Research Institute. Yeah, they've set up a Bunty to create a large data set to train AIs. Yeah,
that's the little dungeon bounty thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm suddenly like I have like 3 things I want to ask you about. You said you want to move. Where do you want to move to?
Well, I probably want to go to the United States long term. I'm gonna go for the Stasis Foundation project. I need to go visit for 3 days in Austin, and then while I'm there, I'm gonna use the opportunity to go visit the Chronics Research Lab near Los Angeles, and then I'm gonna go to the Bay Area for indefinitely, I guess. Like, yeah.
Right. So planning
because there's a bunch of people I want to meet there. I've been thinking recently that it would be probably better to raise a family outside a large city because it would be way cheaper and I will be able to have it will have an impact on the amount of children I'm able to have if I raise them remotely. So it's not a deal breaker, but it's kind of my goal right now to try to eventually go outside of the Bay Area. But the Bay Area is a good place, I think, to meet people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So my other question around family. So you mentioned that your family asked you at Christmas. How much family do you have? Like, what's your family of origin like?
I'm closer to my mother's side. My mother's parents are alive. She has 2 siblings. I have 4 cousins on that side. Other side, I have 2 aunts and 2 cousins. Yeah.
Do you have siblings?
Yeah, I have 2 siblings.
Do they have kids?
Not yet, but they both want kids. Yeah. They're both younger than me.
One of the reasons Elliot asked that question, I believe, is to see how good your relationship with your parents and your siblings is. And instead you kind of gave an answer that was like very descriptive, like very categorical. This is what I have. And so yeah, could you elaborate into like what your relationship is with your family?
Do they all live in Quebec or?
Yeah, they all live in Quebec.
Oh. Do you see them often or?
I used to see them pretty often. Last year, I've spent multiple months with my grandparents to help my grandfather, because my grandfather was really sick, and my grandmother was pretty exhausted to be alone helping my grandfather. Now we have a bunch of help. Well, now the situation is complicated, but for quite a while we had like a bunch of external help. So yeah, I was able to leave without leaving my grandmother in a bad spot.
Wow, that's very noble.
I'm very close to my siblings. Like we're very, very close. We don't see each other as often in the last couple of years. I feel like just as we don't live that far, like 20 minutes drive maybe, but that makes a difference, like 20 minutes versus 5 minutes. But if I go near my sister, like I might crash over for a day, so just so I can spend more time with her. I'm close to my parents. I've always been proactive about telling my parents like decisions I was making and get their input on it. And yeah, I'm glad I'm doing this. I feel like some people they like stay in the closet and then they accumulate weirdness and then they become weirder and weirder. And like their parents' model of their child and their actual child like diverge apart more and more, and then it becomes harder to bridge the gap. Whereas for me, there was never really any gap.
Yeah. It's very wise. Hey, look, I'm noticing this phenomenon with you, Maddie, right? And so the way you're presenting yourself is nothing special, but then I ask you a question, and then you reveal this really wonderful character behind that's very very attractive, honestly. Like so
on the outset of like this is my family, but actually you spent a year helping your grandfather. Like that's such a noble thing. Like most people will not be able to claim that they've done that. That's like, you know, one of the things I think about family is that the way you treat your family of origin is the way that you will probably be treating your family in the future, like if you have kids, and the way they will be treating you as well. Like that relationship that you're forming and that you're practicing is a living testament to what will happen in the future, how they'll be able to help you if you need it, which is it's having a good character, you know.
I just want to say, honestly, obviously there are exceptions. If you come from a bad family, you can do all the mental work and you can like become more wise and then not pass that shit on to your kids. But like in general, you know, Maddie listens to his parents. He makes time to see his brother and sister, and there's a lot going on there. It's very kind and strong family loyalty.
My mother often says like, my mother's like, well, I don't agree with this. And then she tells me like why I shouldn't do it. And then she supports me in doing it because that's what I want.
That's really nice.
That's a mark of a good parent too.
So there's also
and my mother, another thing I like about, another like fun fact, I don't know about my mother is she's like, she's kind of surprised that I came out of air because I'm really different from my parents. So yeah, you're like, man, all this has happened. This is
She's surprised. What?
Because he's quite different.
Oh yeah, she's surprised that you're different. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That I like that I'm from air, like that.
That you came out of her. I'm sorry. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to ask more. I want to dig into this. So, because intellectually, you obviously understand that women, well, I mean, you obviously, I think you understand what women want. We want obviously a kind person, and we want to get along with them and have chemistry. But there's also like, we're looking for things like shared values and resources. So, why is it that you didn't present these really fantastic traits about you up front?
And bearing in mind that the fact that you are a catch, but it's hidden, is probably why you're not taken yet.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
it's like the reason why we're here making the dating profile video is because if you could display them or you had already displayed them openly, you wouldn't be here looking to date someone.
Yeah, if you fix the way, and with all honesty, like you could be completely honest about this, if you just change the way you presented yourself, you'd be snapped up.
I don't know like exactly how you're modeling this, but that doesn't feel true to me, that I would already be taken if I had done what you described, because I only started the process a couple of months ago, and that's something I want to take my time with. Like, even, I mean, I don't know. I can imagine like someone great enough that I'm just like, oh yeah, I'll just set up. I'm just like gonna continue with that person. But my initial idea was like, yeah, it's gonna be a process that's gonna take a while to make sure I do it properly.
Right. So just to check, because I realized I didn't ask this earlier. How old are you? Around about
31.
31. Right. And so did you just say that before, just a few months ago, you've never dated? Is that what, or you've dated a little bit? Like, what's your dating history?
I've dated someone in, I've had a girlfriend. Well, I called someone a girlfriend in 5th grade of high school.
Nice.
And
5th grade is always a good sign. You know, gotta last forever from 5th grade.
5th grade of high school. So is that like,
right.
How old were you at that age?
17.
17.
Right, 17.
Yeah,
okay. Right. Yeah.
So,
okay. I thought you meant 5th grade of primary. Different countries have different school structures, and
right. Yeah.
We would say 5th is like a 10-year-old or so. But yeah, a 17-year-old. Yeah.
Okay.
I think I was like, oh, everyone has a girlfriend. I should probably do that. I mean, and then I did that, and I'm like, wait, I don't really want this actually. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, it's not something I pursued for a major part of my life. There was a few years ago where I dated a little bit, didn't go anywhere, and I feel like mostly was not interested in short-term dating, and I was not ready for long-term dating because I didn't know what I wanted, where I wanted to live, or what. Yeah.
Right. And so did something change recently that helped you to feel ready, or you just now's the time to feel ready?
There was also a good part of, I didn't document this exactly, but there was a good part of my life where I thought having children was net negative for the world. So yeah, there was that. I guess that might be a part of it where I've gradually increased my model, changed my model of the world in terms of the value of having children. I think that's the main thing. Yeah.
Okay.
I want to go back to this because this is bothering me. There's something, I don't know if you're having a hard time modeling other people's perspectives or something like that. But like, I'm still trying to figure out why you wouldn't bring up the fact that you are so successful and that you know, all the good traits about yourself. So maybe I'll ask it differently. Like, what does your ideal woman want in a man?
I'm still thinking about your previous statement because I think it's interesting. Like,
you can answer that too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to like even like saying I'm a CEO. I don't think it's like that strong. I mean, I feel like a follow-up question would be like, how many employees did you have? things. What was your budget? What did you accomplish? Like it just anyone can be a CEO by just registering a company for like a couple $100 and calling themselves CEO. Um, I think, yeah, I think that's why I like don't mention those things. I don't know, but I don't think that's a good reason. Yeah.
Well, so that sounds like you did the CEO thing, but it wasn't the most important thing to you, or
Oh no,
does
it
it
was very
register as
important.
important? Ah, okay.
It was like, I mean, at the time, I mean, that was the most important thing I was doing, and yeah, it was everything I wanted to do. So that's what I'd been working for, yeah, all my life. So
Wow,
yeah,
that sounds huge. Like everything you were working for all your life.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to introspect right now, like on why, as Serene said, like why did I not bring this up? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Okay, your other questions, like what do I want a partner to look for in their partner? Interesting question. I don't know how much it matters. Like, as long as like whatever it is that they want, as long as I have it, like if they value me for something that's inconsequential, like so, well, if they value me for like for having long hair and a weird French accent, then I would be like, well, that's weird to like me for those reasons. It would reveal like what they value, like it would reveal like some value difference. I'm like, oh, so that's what you value. Okay, well, we don't connect in terms of like what we value in this regard, but it's probably not a big deal to it's a spectrum, but ultimately if they have what I'm looking for, then that should be mostly fine.
Well, that's fine but this is not the same exercises you're doing. My exercise is an exercise in empathy, and so your ideal woman is looking for something, and we know she's looking for something. She's probably not looking for a homeless man, for instance, right? Would you agree?
I see. Yeah.
She's probably not looking for an axe murderer. She's probably
She's
probably not
looking for someone who lives in the same geography as her,
or can move.
or can move. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Well, I would say I think well, she would want to spend time with me in the same way that I want to spend time with a partner. So that she would be looking for someone that likes to share a lot about their lives and the projects they're working on. Doesn't necessarily want to go out like often, because that's not something that I like. Yeah, I like to spend time with a partner doing like well, cuddling, sharing anecdotes, but also doing productive things like exercise and potentially some cool projects. The main project will be, of course, raising children. Yeah.
Even the phrase like "I want to find someone who I can exercise with" immediately helps to clarify who might be interested in you. There's certain people who are like, "That's just not my jam right now." Other people will be like, "Yeah, let's go for a walk," or yeah. I want more of that.
Well,
in my
yeah,
That's great. So
yeah, that was just a small example, but basically like shared activities, shared projects. Yeah.
that's great. And it sounds like you want a woman who is interested in like quality time is her love language. It sounds like. So
Mm, I guess my love language would be helping the other person with their goals, achieving their goals.
Right. So love languages have a giving language and a receiving language. So you would like to give acts of service, helping them achieve their goals. Which one would you like to receive?
Okay, yeah, because some people are asymmetrical.
Yeah, of course.
In that way. For me, I'm pretty symmetrical.
Okay.
Yeah.
cool.
So it's really acts of
I
service.
also like touch, like and words, but yeah.
Cool. So I like that a lot because right now the image in my head is like, you didn't mention intelligence, but I'm seeing an intelligent woman because you're intelligent and I think you probably want someone who can keep up with you. And then an intelligent, driven woman who's really interested in like collaborating with you or just telling, someone, let's say she's a lawyer or whatever it is, and she can come home and tell you about her work and you're interested and maybe you'll help her a little bit and you can work on like entrepreneurial projects together. So that's you've just painted a really interesting lifestyle.
And I think intelligent would also be useful to keep up with the children if I select donors based on their intelligence. Yeah.
Mm. So explain that a little more.
If I choose a sperm donor and an egg donor based on their high intelligence, then having partners that it seems like intelligence in partner might be relevant at a certain age in the growth of the children. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. So going back to family for a moment, there's this thing I discovered having met Serene's parents, is that not only did I find someone to drag into my family with me, but I kind of like, weirdly enough, I have 2 extra parents. Like I have a whole new family. And so this question is, do you think that if you found someone, you could invite them into your family and they would like get along with your family? And do you think, how would you go suddenly having new parents, like a set of 2 new parents and having a new family to join into?
Okay. So like something I've realized, I think mostly, I mean, this weekend I kind of solidified that preference. Like if we form a family, if we were to split or there was distance created among us, I would, if we've developed a relationship with the other person's family, I would like this to not dissolve. Like I would like those relationships to still be there. Like especially, yeah, it's like children will be the core linking all the family together. So yeah, for me it's important. I feel like I value that this is an option. If we have a large family, I guess we probably won't be able to visit my family very often, and my family already knows that at this point they're really used to me not respecting norms. So if I like the weirdness point frame doesn't work with me. Like if I don't have like infinite weirdness points. They're like, oh yeah, more weirdness points as usual.
Unlimited weirdness.
Well, it means they expect like freedom and creativity and novelty from
They're
you.
like, you didn't become weirder this year. That's weird.
What's wrong with you? I feel like some people are born in weirdness, other people become weird, and some people have both.
Yeah, they cultivate it.
Right. The other one I wanted to really poke at was the seasonal affective disorder. You said you have a project to design better lights for seasonal affective disorder, and just when you talked about it, I saw you light up with like, this was super interesting to you. Can you share more about that project? Or
You light it up like 1,000 lumen bulb.
well done. Like, what is it about this project that lights you up? Oh my god, I did it again.
Well, it feels wrong to say this, but I'm actually not that excited about this project.
Oh, okay.
It's a cool project. It's something that's needed in the rationalist that's demanded in the rationalist community, but it's not something that's like a lot of my project. I check either the direct impact, like with cryonics, or I check if there's a path towards growing the company. Like, is there a path to becoming a very large company, even if that's unlikely? I like that this is on the table. With this, I see no path toward becoming a large company. Like, there will just be maybe I will like have 5 products, or maybe I will have 10 products, but it's not going to become like, it's not going to redesign how the market operates, or it's going to radically change like the economy. So yeah, so that's less exciting.
It's not going to change the economy, because I think maybe helping hundreds of thousands potentially of people with depression might help the economy.
Yeah, that's true. It could actually help quite a lot. Yeah, it could. Yeah.
I do see the community drive, like you described, specifically in the rationality community, which I'm guessing is your biggest community. There's a whole bunch of people having this seasonal depression type phenomena.
Because rationalists don't go outside.
Try not to be mean to the rationalists.
No, thank you.
Okay. But yeah, there's this drive to support the community. Or
I wonder what's the longest I've stayed inside. Probably multiple months.
Really? Like, not even for a walk?
Well, at the beginning of COVID, yeah, probably a couple months. Yeah.
I know someone who describes himself as a very strong introvert who spent several months having not left the house. And they live with someone who did do the shopping for them, but they stayed home the whole time. And they loved it. They were like, I don't have to see humans. I just read books and work quietly.
I was fine with that. I went outside and I walked and I ran. But otherwise, for about a month, I only saw you pretty much. But I did go outside to get sun.
Yeah. Look, I'm a very social person. I do a lot of Zoom calls to even meet my crazy social desires. But
he's a hyperconnector too, Elliot. It's like a job for him. Sometimes you're on the phone. Today you've been on the phone on the Zoom for like 5 or 6 hours already.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm up to 5 hours today, I think.
Yeah, wow. I'm a little more interested. So far we've kind of talked about how you want to find, I'm going to say a wife. Is that okay?
I mean, it's okay, but I would use the word partner, I guess.
Partner, okay. But female partner, right?
I have like a mid-term preference for a female partner.
Okay.
But I would probably like a larger family than just one partner right now. That's my main focus. Yeah.
Okay, so it could be like a female and a male partner?
Right.
Okay, cool. So you've already expressed that you want to have a partner to have kids, and like that's a major project, but like are there any things you see in a partnership that are just kind of for you? Like do you have any, like, I don't know, do you ever,
is there something,
yeah, go on.
Is there something I value about the relationship beside the project of raising children?
Yeah, is there something you're looking forward to about the relationship as well? Yeah, exactly.
I've had I've lived with very close friends, like which I think were in many ways similar to what a relationship would be, a romantic relationship, and I liked, I liked having someone to like share about our days and support like each other's, like to rubber duck each other, be there for brain debugging, or Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's too weird, but like we were doing like 12 hours focus mate sessions, like Pomodoros, like all day long. That was a lot of fun, and then yeah.
Cool.
Right.
Sounds like a rationalist would suit you, someone in the rationality community, or just someone very, very interested in changing the world. So that's another thing you've got. You've got this idea. And once again, you know, in the future, I would love to see you like showcasing this more, because it seems like you've got a plan to build an empire in your head. Is that correct?
Yeah, I guess. Like for a second, I was looking for another way to put it, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's multiple ways to put it. It could be something like a maybe an empire, but it's also a benevolent empire as well. Like you're yeah, you're trying to help the community around you. But you know, we often think, I think there's often this idea that women are attracted to money or whatever, but like actually I think potential is one of the biggest attractors. And so even if you're not where you want to be yet, even if you're no, right now you're already a CEO of a company, like of a startup that you founded. And so, you know, the virtual assistants one. So you already have employees under you. That's already a huge benefit to you. But like, I would love to see you sell a vision of what you want to make the world into one day, and showcase your passions, because that's where I think people will be very attracted to you. I think that's your real selling point.
Right. So you said earlier the idea of like, this is my train. Do you want to get it on with me? Do you want
to get it on?
This is my train. Would you like to come in this direction? Get on the train and come with me on my journey that I'm going on. Otherwise, get out of my way.
This train's going to Pound Town.
Oh my God.
Get it on.
Right. So if you're gonna try and describe like, what is that train for you? That vision, like, can you try and put some words to that for us?
Like it's mostly focused on the family that I described.
Okay.
I kind of have my own goals, but they're independent of my goals. I have career goals, but they're independent of my family goals. And alignment with partners is important for the family goals. So that's the train they should get on, the other train.
Yeah, but sure, but like,
tell us more. Tell us about
okay, yeah, go on.
Tell us more. Break him down for us.
So my career goals are to mostly acquire a lot of power, probably mostly financially, but it could be in other forms as well. And then fund cryonics research is the main one right now. I want to fund, but it could be that it gets solved, and then I won't run out of things of like a project that I want to fund. But right now, that's my main focus.
How much money do you think it would take to solve the cryonics problem, or to like, how much would you like to see put towards that research?
Well, I would be satisfied with, I think I could start making a meaningful impact at around maybe $500K to $1 million per year in donations. Yeah.
Okay, ladies, listen up. This man is planning.
He has a vision.
His vision is to make $500,000 to $1 million per year just to donate. Just to donate. That's all. I mean,
or to raise.
To
raise and direct funding towards the vision that he cares about in cryonics.
But this man has big goals for the future. He has big financial goals. He wants to help the world. This is a hidden gem.
But it's easy to have big goals, like, yeah.
But you're also very smart, and you're also a very good project manager. So if you're sure big goals, anyone can have big goals, but you seem to be on your way to achieving a lot of them as well.
So one thing I like to do is I like to take a number. So you said 500,000 a year. So there's 52 weeks in a year, but if we drop that to 50, that's $10,000 a week of either funneling funding towards or raising yourself. If you're doing a 5-day work week, that's $2,000 a day that you plan to, of income that you plan to make every day. Now, that's like a very valuable human being to be making. And obviously we don't make a flat, we make sort of like big projects come to fruition, but that's like you're aiming for that level of effort and that level of profit in your life. Like, great, amazing. That's like, I'm sorry, but you can't be a school teacher because they're not earning $2,000 a day. You're looking for a bigger impact on the world. Okay. Like, and any interested party who is planning to come and date you and live in your life with you has to know that your goals are that high. They're not like lower. There's nothing wrong with school teachers. They're doing it for the love of the kids, but they're not earning $2,000 a day.
And to be your partner, there will be a lot of sacrifices. Like Maddie said, 12-hour work days, where you might be taking care of the kids. There might be, he might be off traveling around to have different meetings, and you might have a lot of responsibility, but you'll be able to buy whatever you want. So that's cool. Not whatever you want. Don't be stupid, but maybe not a jet, but like a lot of stuff.
More children.
More children.
Buy more children?
Buy more children.
Well, you know, if you're going the surrogate route, it costs a bunch of money to go through a surrogacy process.
Yeah. Top 5. Whose sperm and eggs would you have if you could have anyone's?
Nice.
I think we've embarrassed him.
I feel like it's premature for me to say names. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have like a hidden list somewhere, even if you don't say?
Well, I have a list, yes.
Okay.
It's a small list because I haven't researched this. Right. I'm not at the stage of researching this. I'm still in the stage of defining like the traits that I want and how I'm going to measure them. Yeah.
I thought it was pretty sad that Steven Pinker didn't have any kids. So I would ask Steven Pinker for his sperm. I just write him a letter like, please give sperm. And then I don't know if it would work. How about you? Who would you choose? They have to be alive, obviously, or very recently dead.
I didn't know you were a grave digger, but apparently you're a grave digger.
Sperm lives for like 3 days, so you have a shot.
Yeah, I guess I'm suddenly turning to a different variety of my values. So on the one hand, there is the like people who have themselves been successful and wealthy in the world, and then there's people who've had other impacts, maybe social impacts, or I'm particularly interested in the meditative world. So people who have trained and upskilled themselves in the prowess demonstrates that their genetics can be successful in those domains as well, or maybe even like musically incredibly successful people.
So the Dalai Lama's sperm?
That one's tricky because he was picked for the role and then trained for the role.
True.
But someone who had to earn their way to that position. I'll have to, I don't have it on the tip of my tongue, but there would be people that I respect quite highly.
It's too bad Ramdas just died.
A couple of years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was
What's your name?
joyous.
Ramdas?
Okay.
He was a meditator who was pivotal in instigating the acid revolution of the 60s and 70s.
But not just that. He was many.
He
other
also
things.
then transformed into a great teacher and a wonderful friend for many, many, many people.
I really like that you asked this question. Yeah.
Yeah. What about eggs? Whose eggs would you take? Angela Merkel would be pretty cool. No, her eggs are all dry. Probably. You probably can't get hers anymore.
I don't know. Can you harvest eggs of people who are postmenopausal?
Natalie Portman's really pretty, and she went to Harvard, so that'd be cool.
Yeah, I think we have this problem in our society that the pedestal for women for like strong success is not the same as the pedestal for men for strong success, and so it looks different. Anyway. Also, I want to point out harvesting eggs is kind of a stressful experience.
J.K. Rowling. Yeah, I'd take her eggs any day.
By take, you mean like
take,
take, right?
Take.
Like, oink, I'll take those. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Terrifying. Gravedigger and extraction.
Oprah, I'd take Oprah's eggs too.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think they're a bit
Did
old.
Oprah have any kids?
No.
Yeah, interesting.
Smart people need to have kids. If you're smart and not super fucked up, just have kids. Like, I accuse genetic mostly. We need to be having more kids.
Right. So
Oprah should have had
Yeah.
like 10 kids. I swear to God. Anyway.
there's a perspective
Have
of
kids or
go ahead.
have kids or donate your sperm to someone else or your eggs. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
I worry about that though, because I know my brain pretty well, and I know what kind of pitfalls I went through in life, and
how I might help someone like me through some of those pitfalls. I have the same. And so if I was to have kids and that are raised by other people, I would be worried that all of the wisdom that I have about how to raise people like me wouldn't get to those kids, and they would just struggle the very similar struggles that I had, and not really excel.
I'm seeing something.
Yeah.
Okay, Maddie, do you know what a golden shadow is? Have you heard of this?
No, what is
concept?
it?
So Carl Jung came up with this concept of the shadow, but it's been worked a lot since then. And there's this idea that you kind of unconsciously suppress things in your mind. So like oftentimes if people have bad qualities, like there's this whole idea where if you are triggered by someone, so if somebody does something that makes you really upset, that's because you have a shadow there. And so like if you see a politician that you don't like, maybe they're a fantastic orator, or maybe they're very persuasive, and you don't like the fact that they're very persuasive because you're not persuasive or something like that.
Well, you're not allowed to permit yourself to be persuasive in that way.
Because you got laughed at when you were a kid or whatever, and then you decided never to try again. Or it could be, he's dishonest, but you're dishonest as well. And so you get triggered by him or something along those lines. But a golden shadow is when you project really great things onto other people and not yourself. And so the question that popped up into my mind was, why wouldn't you just raise your own kids? You're clearly, I don't know if you're genius level, I don't know you that well, but you're clearly very intelligent and you've got a lot of shit going for you. That's good. And so like, why would you even need somebody else's sperm? Like, why wouldn't you just use your own? You're good looking, you're smart. What's the problem?
So I think there are some traits that I might be like very high on, like openness, and like I don't know what it is, but there's like some combination of openness, rationality, and intelligence that I feel makes me able to see a potential for to gain to grab a lot of value where other people don't see. So but I thought that I'm like, and it's hard for me to measure my own intelligence, and I don't know if I'm able to distinguish people that are smarter than me. Like, I feel like it's easier to tell when people are more stupid than you, and then you're like, oh, but there's no one really more intelligent than me. But I feel like, yeah, if I base myself on, there's still various cues that I can see other people being faster, and yeah, I don't know, like my scores on standardized tests, like the SAT or IQ, or so it. But I think it's probably far from being the very top. Like, yeah, and being the very top it just has you gain a lot of value all the way up the ladder of more further intelligence. There's just like strongly correlated with many success, like many life outcomes that we consider as being successful. Yeah.
All right, I realize I have another topic because
I know someone that has like a IQ of 160, and they also want to find a sperm donor potentially. So it's like, yeah, as long as you're not like 180 or 200, there's room for.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I don't want to get in the weeds here, but there's also regression towards the mean. And so, if you have somebody with even two people with, it would be hard to find two people with 180, but if you found two people with 180, 150, or 180, 160 or something like that, you're gonna get it's a regression towards the mean of everyone's IQ, not just those two people's IQ. And so I wonder if the risk in having a child who is like, if two people are 180, you'll probably end up with a lot of kids who are like even 140, 150, which is still super smart, but like I wonder if the benefits outweigh the drawbacks when it comes to having your own children and knowing them because you know yourself and being able to raise them in a way that suits them. But yeah, this is different. This is an argument. This is a very intellectual argument, and it, you know, it doesn't really matter.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So I realize that a whole nother topic that we haven't covered is creativity. And that is like, do you have a creativity? Do you write? Do you draw? Do you play music? Do you have, where is the expression of creativity in your being?
So I used to, well, yeah, I used to write fiction. I still sometimes do when I really have a good story and I feel like I just don't have a choice but to write it. But I try, that's not something I try to do. Like, I don't try to write fiction, or I used to also do like short movies. Right now, my main outlet for creativity is just doing improv in an unstructured manner with people I live with. Like, yeah. So
Nice.
that's almost, yeah. If I have children, I can see a lot of ways I will be able to indulge in like being creative. Like, there are things I don't know if they will be into what I'm into, but there are things I kept asking my siblings to do with me when I was young, and they didn't want to, like create like board games. That's something I think is a lot of fun.
Cool.
That's very
or create a new language. Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah, that gives me the image of a very active role, engaging in the minds of children and like play and like making your own board game. Like, it's not just playing board games, making your own board games, right?
Yeah.
Right. And encouraging kids to themselves make their own board games. Awesome.
It sounds like a great childhood.
Yeah. So on the improv topic, would you be hopeful that your partner, if you're getting serious romantic, would also want to participate in the improv sort of thing with you? You want them like there with you, able to play?
Not really. Like, I want to focus. I really want to focus. Yeah, I feel like I've already selected the top things I wanted, and I'm not going to include that one. That's just a nice to have. Like, yeah.
And to check, if they were to have a creativity, would you be okay with that? Like, if they were a musician or if they were an artist in some way, would you be okay with that? Would you want someone who's more structured and serious? Like
in this scenario, like, I mean, how much time, it depends how much time they put into it. Like, if and I don't mind, like I just mind how it impacts other things. Like, if it impacts their ability to raise children or to provide an income, depending how they contribute to the family. Like, it could be their income or helping with housework. But if they do it to the extent that it impedes on their ability to do that, then that becomes a problem. Otherwise, it's not a main factor for me what they do. Yeah.
Cool. I think
I'm running out of questions.
Yeah.
That's
I have to say that when I met Eliot, before I met Eliot, I was envisioning someone who was a lot different than Eliot. But then I met him and I realized he was what I needed. Like, I had this image of a person that was a lot different, but Eliot is actually quite perfect for me. And I realized that I was looking for somebody who was like me, and that's not what I needed. Instead was somebody who fit with my, the pros and cons of my personality. And I got that. And to boot, he has a great family. They're fantastic. They're all great. So I got super lucky. But I wonder if your perfect woman might look a little bit different than what you have in mind. But I think,
well, there's a question here of what sort of traits do you think would really balance you, like balance your personality? If you want to like imagine a yin and yang, like what would balance with you and like bounce off you really well?
Yeah, I feel like Serene felt to a large extent. I think like it's not obvious to me like which trait I would change about myself in the partner, like in a copy of myself. And I think, and Serene, you strike me as someone that has a pretty good introspective capabilities, and like not shying away from the truth, like our truth. I'm still unsure, like here, if that's our truth, that you wanted someone like you, but it's really hard to find, like women and men are different on average. So finding copies of yourself, most people won't find a copy of themselves. So maybe you're rationalizing. I don't know. I'm just speculating. Like, oh yeah, like how harsh would it be to say like, oh yeah, Eliot is not actually like my future partner. Yeah, if my future partner is able to like, I don't know. Maybe they will not be like the best person. That probably they probably won't be the best possible person. You know that like you know.
Well,
And
there's also
yeah,
like, who has the time to wait for the perfect person?
Hmm?
Who has the time to wait around for the perfect person?
Right.
Especially if
right.
you're not perfect yourself. Like, why would you expect
Right.
someone else to be perfect?
Right. So yeah, but let's see. There's probably at least what traits would complement me well. I guess there are two ways I can interpret these questions. Like, what are my flaws, and then someone can have those skills that I'm lacking. And then there's also um, I have this concept of a ubermatzi. Like, if I was everything that I wanted to be, like, what would I look like? And then maybe even ubermatzi as a complement that is different from zero. So let's see.
When you say Zer, I want to make sure you never breed again. I just want to tell you that I can't stand the word Zer. It just like hurts me so hard. I want no, I'm kidding, but Zer is such a it's one of your weirdness points. That's it. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go on.
It's bad, but it's at least worse. Like, it's fine.
It's not bad. It's fine. It's just it's what you are.
So yeah, traits that what traits would suit you? Like, balance you.
I think what would suit you is a girl who's very social and very socially keen, very aware, and able to help you climb a sort of social ladder. I think even if she's not like a super career-driven person, somebody who can like hold a dinner party and charm people, I think that would be really helpful for you.
Yeah, I think someone more extroverted. Yeah, that might be. That seems. I like the idea.
I think of kingmaker when I think of a girl. Like, there's this idea of a kingmaker. You know, you find a guy who's doing pretty well, but like he's on his way to some crazy success, and then you help him get there in whatever way you need to. I could see you. The girl that you're looking for, I think, is a kingmaker. She knows she's on the ball. She can help you in whatever way she needs to help you, and then you just take off.
That feels good to hear.
All right, I have one last question. How do you feel about spirituality? Do you have your own spirituality? Would you be okay with your partner having a spirituality?
Good question.
I feel like the answer is in the details. As long as it makes sense from an epistemic standpoint, like I welcome it. There's some aspects of it that I really like. I don't do meditations at all, and like so I know for some people that's important, so that's not something I do. That's something I've tried various kind of meditation, and that wasn't valuable for me. But there's many aspects of there's like I like the idea of rituals, or ceremonies, or celebrations that are meaningful for my values and my vision for the future. And there's a lot of this that is created in the rationalist community, and those things are deeply meaningful to me, like attending the Petrov Day ceremony or the winter solstice, for example. For me, that strikes as like adjacent spirituality, but it's not in my top factors of what I'm looking for. But it would be nice to have to share this vision and desires. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, good.
All right.
That answers like, well, one more question then. Is there anything else you would add to this video interview to present yourself and say, hey, this is me, Matty Roy?
Well, I guess like yeah, I was thinking there. I guess the things that I was thinking of, I've probably shown through answering other questions, and they don't need to be said explicitly. So I think nothing comes to mind. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Right. What you see is what you get. All right. Just a reminder, if you want $3,500 and you know a woman who would be suitable for Maddie, who would be lucky enough to be Maddie's wife or partner, hit him up. Where can they find you, Maddie?
MattyRoy.com and on Facebook, Matty Roy, MATIROY.
Right.
.com.
.com, and they can email you and they can just get $3.5 grand. That's like $175 trillion in Zimbabwe money. So all right. Yeah, I guess we'll talk to you later, Maddie. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for chatting. And
Likewise.
happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you. You too.
See ya.
Gonna hit stop.
Yeah.